there was a bottle that you saw here when I was going through. The Library of Congress said use a Turgitol. Turgitol, if you punch in Turgitol, Dow Chemical Company will say it's ethylene oxide. So then you use that PVC chart and say ethylene oxide, dangerous for PVC. Not supposed to use that.
So why do they use it at the archive?
Unfortunately, they have more chemists than God has, the disciples. They have too much money. They don't really understand records. They don't, and yet they have chemists on there. The first thing you learn is if you're building a machine and you're using rubber, neoprene rubber, and if I'm going to put some kind of a solvent in that machine, I want to make sure that the solvent, oh, it's ether. Punch in the neoprene compatibility chart, it'll say don't use ether. It'll destroy and dry out your rubber. It's common sense. So that's what I've been bringing to the market for the last 5 years, saying don't buy anything. There's one cleaner here that has a bottle, and Michael Fremer actually said, Charles, what is this? This guy's selling it with his ultrasonic machine. I said, I don't know, take a look. He sends me the picture. I said, there's no ingredients list on there. He was able, because he's a real good journalist, you know, he asked the manufacturer, look, I'm reviewing equipment here. You either tell me that, or I'm going to tell everyone that, you know,
You won't tell me.
You won't tell me, exactly. So he sends me this formula. I said, Michael, remember, there's the PVC compatibility chart. Well, you tell me. So I find out what it is from the material data safety sheet. When I ship this out, I have to tell FedEx and UPS what's in here. And also I have to publish it in case you drink it, or your wife drinks it, or your grandkids drink it. And what to do if you ingest it. This chemical had ether in it, and ether is a no-no for plastic. It was also on the MDS made by the California Prisons Company, that the prisoners make chemicals. So, and it says there's also 18% of the material is toxic. So that's bad for your health. So that's why don't use any cleaner on a record that's not PVC compatible, but at the same time the cleaner can get in the groove because the water droplets are larger, but also the record has the same charge. So this is a propanediol. We call it a surfactant. All cleaners are surfactants, but this is bipolar. What does that mean? I don't use it as a cleaning agent. I use it to change the charge of the record to attract the ultrasonic wave. That's what this is. And it's 2% of propanediol 1-2-178 and 98% distilled water. So now we're in the record cleaning process. So I'm going to start the machine. I'm going to put the record in. Oops, there we go. Put the motor on. There we go. There we go. Now, typically you do this, like in our manual we say you do this for 5 minutes. And by the way, this is noisy. This is serial number 1 made 5 years ago and it still works. Okay, this has had a lot of miles in it. The new motor assemblies are nice and quiet. This was the actual prototype, and I'm proud to use it. Because people say, how long does it work? Well, it's been 5 years now at all these trade shows, being banged around. So what's happening now here is the ultrasonic is cavitating. It's creating a 500-mile-an-hour wave. And it's creating a wave that is even throughout the record. All the way up to the wax takeoff point, or the dead wax area, I should say, the needle takeoff point. But I'm not getting into the grooves yet. Why? Because I haven't sprayed this yet to change the charge. We say to people that I don't know, and I didn't know you until I met you and how you took care of your records just with a brush, we say 5 minutes to get rid of some surface dust and fungus, which the ultrasonic will do. That we're not going to go and remove the release agent where all the pops are until we start applying this. In your records, they're all good. Do a 2-minute cycle.
Just
do a 2 minutes.
Used, so I mean,
Yeah.
I got these used, so I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know what somebody else put on there.
Then put it for 5 minutes. It doesn't hurt. Okay. So we're now down to 3 minutes. I'm fine by taking this out. So I take the record out and then I put it onto the work area, right here, and I'm going to do a little quick look here. There we go. Okay, there. So what we've done is we've just wetted the record a bit and we've removed whatever was on there. I'm going to make sure this is the real stuff here. Yeah, because I have one bottle that was alcohol that we put in here to kill the fungus, just a little alcohol. 1.4 ounces in nearly 1.78 gallons. So I spray here, spray here, spray here at 12 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 8 o'clock. And then now what I do is I apply this onto the record. Now this is changing the charge of the record. I do this on the next side, do the same thing. There we go. 12 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 8 o'clock. And now change the charge of the record to be negative. To be positive, which will attract the negative ion of the ultrasonic, the water. And that's something also, when we do this, we need to use distilled water, not deionized water. Deionized water has no charge. So if I'm charging a record, I now have water that does not have the negative aspect of the dipole, so I defeat the purpose. So some journalists say, oh, use deionized water. Actually, deionized water isn't even pure, because the purest form of water is through evolution, where we have water that boils, the vapor comes up, you have a cold area, and then basically it comes out down like rain in nature, or it comes down as pure water through a cooling agent. And all the contaminants are left in that boiling pot. Distilled water doesn't, deionized water doesn't do that. It gives you water that has bacteria. It gives you, it doesn't remove the aspect of dirt, because they need filters. So if you take a look at deionized water, it's not pure. The purest water is actually distilled. And I'm a first responder. When we went down to Katrina, when that happened down in Louisiana, we told all the people, we put letters on their doors, if you have a automated system at home that purifies water using deionization and whatever, don't drink the water. You may think it's pure, it isn't, because all the sewage effluent is going through the system, the city system, and you're basically drinking it. So here, now we're going to put this back into the system. So now what happens is, here is now where we now will have that wave, even wave, like I showed you with that resonance, that 70 kilohertz resonance on the 35 kilohertz ultrasonic. We are now basically having all of these areas being evenly hit as the record turns. So as when we started, this record was full positive, the water was negative. Now as it turns around, this ionizing agent disappears. So the record, when it goes down to 0 after 5 minutes, will now lose its charge. It won't have this effect again. So that's why I'll have to take the record out, we'll inspect it, and then decide whether we use another 5-minute cycle or it was the last 5-minute cycle, based on what we see. And yes, it is a process of love. So in a brand new record, it's 16 minutes per 2 records at the same time. 1 5-minute, 4 2 minutes, and 1 5-minute. That's what we do for new pressings for the last 5 or 6 years. Why? I know what release agent there was coming out when we had the biscuit being pressed and then being popped out as a record. So we know what those mixes were. In the older records, they had better PVC mixes, more pure. So there, also, I don't know whether people have used cleaning agents or not, so we'll be able to inspect this record. This one, we will not see white coming up as much and then disappearing between cycles, because he's never used the cleaning agent on there. It's pure release agent. He's never used a chemical on this record.
And so you do this process for a